I want to start today with a specific scenario. I want you to imagine you are 26 years old.
Okay.
You are sitting in a doctor's office in San Francisco. The air is sterile, the lights are buzzing, and the doctor walks in with that look, you know the look, and drops a bomb on you.
Oh,
You need
no.
surgery.
Okay, that is already a bad start to the day.
It gets heavier. This isn't a minor procedure. It's major surgery.
Right.
And it comes with complications that might mean you can never have children in the future.
That is, wow. That's the kind of news that just stops time.
It does.
You'd expect a total collapse. Fear, grief, panic. I mean, the whole range of human misery.
Exactly. That's the normal human reaction. But for Jamie Woolf, the woman at the center of this story, her immediate visceral reaction wasn't fear.
Okay.
It wasn't sadness. It was excitement.
Excitement about major surgery that could impact her future family. That sounds almost pathological. What is going on there?
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But here's the context. The surgery meant she would be legally required to take 5 weeks of medical leave,
Ah.
which meant 5 weeks away from her boss.
Wow. Okay. That paints a very, very specific and a very grim picture.
It breaks your heart a little, right? She was so desperate to escape the daily psychological grind of her workplace that major surgery felt like a vacation.
She was willing to go under the knife just to get away from this person. It's a visceral example of the bad boss problem.
Yeah, it is.
And look, we've all traded war stories about terrible managers over drinks. It's almost a universal bonding experience.
Sure.
But what we're diving into today, based on the work of Jamie Woolf and Dr. Christopher Bell, isn't just a collection of horror stories.
Right. We aren't here to bash the obvious villains, the movie-style tyrants who scream and throw staplers.
No.
We're here to figure out how they become villains.
Precisely. Wolf and Bell, they run a consultancy specifically designed to fix toxic leadership. And their central thesis, it's uncomfortable. They argue that most bad bosses aren't sociopaths. They aren't waking up and planning to make people miserable.
No.
They are often smart, well-intentioned people like you and me, who get trapped in these specific psychological mechanisms that turn them into monsters without them even realizing it.
That's the terrifying part, isn't it? We all think we're the hero of our own movie. I mean, nobody looks in the mirror and says, today, I'm going to crush the morale of my team.
Of course not.
But the sources suggest that leadership comes with armor and blind spots that can make us do exactly that.
So today's mission isn't just to give you a list of management hacks. We are going to explore the psychology of power. We're going to look at the armor we all wear to survive and how that armor might be hurting the people around us.
We're going to talk about power blindness and reality distortion.
And crucially, we have some very specific tools, a set of questions, really, to help strip that armor away.
But before we get to the cure, we have to diagnose the disease. Just how bad is this bad boss problem? Is it just, people complaining, or is it a crisis?
It is absolutely a crisis. Wolf and Bell cite a Harris poll that is, frankly, staggering.
Oh, yeah.
It found that 71% of employees have had what they would classify as a toxic boss at some point in their career.
71%. That's basically everyone. That's the vast majority of the workforce.
It is. But here is the stat that really, really stuck with me. And this goes back to your opening story about the surgery.
Okay.
Over half of those people have actually had nightmares about their boss.
Oh, I believe that. I have absolutely been there. You're lying awake at 3 a.m., replaying a conversation, just dreading the next morning. It haunts you.
And that haunting has a cost. Obviously, it costs businesses money. Turnover is expensive. Lost productivity is expensive. But Wolf points out this hidden cost that is much harder to measure, but arguably more damaging.
The lost ideas.
Yeah.
The brilliance that never sees the light of day.
Exactly. Think about it. If you are having nightmares about your boss, are you going to walk into their office and pitch a risky, innovative new idea?
No way. You keep your head down. You survive.
And innovation dies in a culture of fear. The business creates a culture of silence, and the leader thinks everything is fine because nobody is complaining. But really,
nobody's speaking at all.
So why does this happen? If these leaders aren't evil, what's going on in their brains? This brings us to one of the core concepts in our sources today, power blindness.
Power blindness. It sounds like a medical condition.
It sounds like something you'd get treated for.
Treacles, yeah.
And in a way, it is a psychological condition. The research suggests that when someone rises to a position of power, when they get that title, a shift occurs.
A real shift.
They literally lose sight of what it feels like to have less power.
So they just they forget the vulnerability.
Completely. They forget how a subtle change in tone of voice or a quick dismissal of an idea or even just checking your phone during a meeting
Oh, that's a big one.
can absolutely ruin a subordinate's day.
Can you give us a concrete example of what that looks like?
Sure. Imagine you're a manager. You're in a meeting. A junior employee is presenting. You get an urgent email on your phone, so you look down to read it. To you, it's nothing.
Right, you're just multitasking. It's a throwaway moment.
But to the junior employee,
Oh, it's a catastrophe.
it's a total catastrophe. They see you look down and they think, they hate my idea. I'm boring them. I'm going to get fired. The leader forgets that their smallest gesture is amplified by 10 times because of that power dynamic.
It's like they're walking around with a megaphone and they don't even realize it. Every sigh is a shout.
That's a great analogy. And this leads directly to the second trap, reality distortion.
Now, usually when I hear reality distortion field, I think of Steve Jobs, convincing people the impossible is possible. But this sounds different.
Much less inspiring. Yeah. This is the mechanism that keeps the bad boss in the dark. Because of that power differential, the people around the leader stop telling the truth.
They just go into survival mode.
Right. They laugh at the boss's jokes, especially when they aren't funny.
Doc chuckles. We've all done it.
They withhold the tough feedback because they don't want to rock the boat. So, the leader looks around and just sees everyone nodding and smiling.
And the leader thinks, man, I'm crushing this. Everyone loves me. My jokes are hilarious.
Exactly. That is the reality distortion field. The leader thinks everything is great. I'm a good boss. While the team is just suffering.
And the most dangerous part is that the leader isn't necessarily malicious. They're just disconnected.
Completely disconnected.
Woolf actually shares a painful personal story about this, doesn't she? We fast forward from her surgery days, and she eventually becomes a boss herself.
She does, and I appreciate her honesty here because it is not flattering. She's 32, working at the University of California, Berkeley. She's leading a training team.
And in her own mind.
If you asked her at the time, she would have told you she was a fantastic boss. Her team was gelling, they were creative, she felt great.
Until the bubble burst.
Until one day, an employee comes into her office, and this employee is crying. Not just tearing up, but sobbing so hard she can't even speak.
Now pause there. If someone comes into my office sobbing, my instinct, I hope, would be immediate concern.
Right. What's wrong? Are you okay? Is it family?
Exactly.
That's what we'd all like to think. But Woolf is incredibly honest about her internal monologue in that moment. She admits she was concerned, yes, but her primary internal reaction.
Irritation.
Irritation, wow, that's cold.
It's the task over people mindset. She had a budget report due at the end of the day, and in her head she's thinking, I don't have time for this drama, I have work to do.
That is power blindness in action. The human being in front of her became an obstacle to her task.
A total obstacle. So what was the employee crying about?
Right.
When she finally calmed down, she told Jamie that she felt completely unseen. She had invited Jamie to observe her training sessions multiple times, and Jamie was always too busy.
Oof.
She felt Jamie played favorites. Basically, she told Jamie, you are the wretched boss now.
The gut punch. Huge gut punch. And this is where the story gets really instructive about our own psychology. Jamie felt that shame, but instead of owning it right then and there, she did what most of us do.
She built a wall.
She built a wall. She calls it her fortress of solitude, or
her cubicle of solitude, I think she jokes.
That's cubicle of solitude. But the metaphor is vital. She retreated into her office and into her own head and used logic to protect herself. She told herself, I have a logical explanation for why I didn't go to her training. I was busy with the budget. That's valid.
And I have a logical explanation for why I spend time with those other people.
Yeah.
It's not favoritism. We're just on the same project.
Exactly. Inside the fortress, the leader feels fine because they have justified their behavior. I have reasons.
Right.
But outside the fortress, the reality hasn't changed. The team is demoralized. You cannot be a good leader while hiding behind walls of self-justification.
It's so easy to do, though. I'm not a bad boss. I'm just under pressure. That's the mantra.
That is the mantra of the bad boss.
So we have Jamie, who walled herself off with busyness and logic, but then we have her business partner, Dr. Christopher Bell. And his story isn't about ignoring a crying employee. It's about a different kind of wall.
Right.
He calls it emotional armor.
This is a crucial pivot. While Jamie's story is about the blindness of busyness and ego, Dr. Bell's story is about the blindness of survival.
Let's start with his title. He is very specific about insisting people call him Dr. Bell. And he admits some people see that as ego.
But he clarifies it's not ego, it's statistical defiance. He breaks down the numbers. In a room of 100 PhDs, statistically, only 7 are black.
Only 7.
And of those 7, 4 are women. Black men make up only 3% of all PhDs.
That is a tiny slice of the pie.
It is. And then he contrasts that with a really sobering statistic. He points out that a black man in America is more likely to go to prison than to get a PhD.
Wow. That puts the title in a whole new light. It's not a vanity plate, it's a protest.
It's a badge of honor. He wears the title Dr. Bell for those who will never get to be a doctor. It's deeply meaningful.
And this need for protection goes back even further, right? To his childhood. He shares this story about his father that really explains the whole armor concept.
It does. He was a smart kid, skipped grades, didn't fit in. He was getting bullied. And his father sat him down and gave him a very, very hard truth.
What do you say?
He said, "Son, you are smart and you are black, and that is always going to make people uncomfortable. And they are not going to know what to do with that. So they are going to blame you."
Man, they're going to blame you. That is a heavy thing for a child to hear.
Yeah.
That you are inherently a problem.
It is. So Bell did what he had to do to survive. He armored up. He built a persona that could withstand that blame and that discomfort.
He has that great line, "I like me enough for both of us."
That's it, which works for survival. It got him the PhD. It got him respect. But now
Now, as a leader, he's running a company. How does that armor translate to the workplace?
and that's the tragedy. He notes that the armor is covered in spikes. To his young staff people, he actually adores and wants to mentor. He doesn't look protective.
He looks intimidating.
Intimidating, arrogant, unapproachable.
So the very thing that protected him coming up is now preventing him from connecting with his team.
Precisely. The armor keeps people from hurting him, but it also keeps people from getting close to him. And if your team can't get close to you, they can't trust you.
And if they can't trust you, you're right back in that reality distortion field.
It's a cruel paradox. You need the armor to get to the position of power, particularly if you are from a marginalized group,
Right.
but you have to take it off to actually use that power effectively.
That is the core tension of modern leadership right there. Vulnerability feels dangerous, especially if you spent your life defending yourself.
But Dr. Bell argues that to lead, especially to lead the next generation, you have to do the uncomfortable work of lowering those spikes.
So we have power blindness, we have the fortress of solitude, and we have spiky armor. It feels like we are well on our way to diagnosing the problem. But how do we fix it?
Right.
Woolf and Bell offer a solution that involves a mirror.
But not just any mirror.
Shocked. Chuckles. Right, they make a distinction.
They joke about the compact mirror, the little one you use to check if you have spinach in your teeth.
Sure.
That surface-level self-reflection. Did I say the right thing in that meeting? Do I look professional? Did we hit the numbers? That's just touch-up work.
We need something bigger.
We need the hallway mirror. The big, full-length one you check before you go out on a Saturday night where you see the whole outfit, the posture, everything.
You need to see your whole self, the good intentions and the damaging impacts.
You need to see the armor. And to do that, they propose 3 specific audit questions. And I love these because they force you to be honest.
Let's run through them. What is the first question?
Question 1 is the armor audit. Ask yourself, what kind of armor are you wearing? What does it give you? And what does it cost you?
What does it cost you? That's the kicker.
It is. You have to do the ROI analysis on your personality. For Jamie, her armor of busyness and logic gave her protection from shame. It protected her ego.
But the cost.
The cost was her humanity. It cost her the ability to be a humane boss.
And for Dr. Bell, the armor gave him safety and survival. But it cost him connection. It cost him the trust of his staff.
Exactly. You have to weigh the cost. Usually in leadership, the cost is higher than the benefit, but we rarely do the math.
Okay, question 2. This one requires you to get outside of your own head.
This is the fear audit. You ask yourself, what might people be afraid to tell me?
And this acknowledges that just by having the title boss, you are scary.
Yes. Even if you are the nicest person in the world, leaders often say, my door is always open, I'm a nice guy. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
You hold the keys to their salary, their career progression. You have to acknowledge that structural power creates fear.
So for Dr. Bell, he had to realize people were afraid of his spikes. They were afraid of his intellect, his intensity.
And realizing that changes how you behave. If you know people are afraid to give you bad news, you have to go out of your way to make it safe for them to do so. You have to invite the feedback.
Not just wait for it.
You have to go mining for it.
Which leads us to the final and arguably most important question.
Question 3. What am I going to do differently?
Because awareness without action is just...
Well, it's just worrying.
It's useless. You can stare in the mirror all day, but if you don't change your outfit, you're still wearing the spikes?
So what did Jamie do? How does she turn it around with the crying employee?
She took action. She stopped hiding in the cubicle. She started showing up to the training sessions, not to critique, but to give positive recognition. She took the employee to lunch, not to talk about work, but to get to know her as a full person.
It seems so simple when you say it. Go to lunch, listen. But when you are wrapped up in that armor, it feels impossible.
It feels risky, but the result wasn't just nicer vibes. Trust deepened, collaboration improved. The team actually started functioning better because the leader was present and vulnerable. This touches on something really profound that Woolf and Bell discuss. They wrap up their philosophy with this idea of ethical obligation.
This is my favorite part. They frame leadership as an ethical obligation to break the cycle.
The cycle of bad bosses.
Right. Think about it. We have an entire industry, books, podcasts, seminars built around how to survive your boss,
It's true.
how to manage up, how to deal with a narcissist. We treat a bad boss like a natural disaster you have to weather.
And their point is,
Yeah.
no one should have to survive us. If we are in charge, it is our moral job to ensure that the people working for us aren't going home and having nightmares.
We have to stop the contagion.
It's about reframing power. We usually think of power as a weapon you use to protect yourself or advance your own goals.
Right.
But they're saying power is a tool to elevate others.
But you can only do that if you see the advantages you had. You have to look in that big mirror. You have to see the armor. And you have to make a conscious choice not to weaponize it.
You know, it really makes you think about the definition of bravery in the workplace. We usually think of bravery as, making the tough call or firing someone or taking a financial risk.
But the real bravery here is taking the armor off. It's walking into a room and saying, I don't know the answer, or I might be wrong, or I'm sorry I made you feel that way.
That is terrified bravery.
It is. It feels weak in the moment, but it's the only kind that builds real loyalty.
And it brings us back to that first story. The goal is to be the kind of boss where if your employee needs surgery, their dominant emotion is sadness that they'll miss work.
Not relief that they get a break from you. That is the ultimate metric. If your team treats a hospital stay as a vacation, you have work to do.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a thought to mull over. We've talked about the good boss delusion, this idea that we all think we're doing great.
So here is the provocative thought. If you think you are a good boss and you haven't received any tough, critical feedback from your team in the last, 3 months, are you actually doing a good job?
Or is your reality distortion field just working perfectly?
Silence isn't always a sign of contentment. Sometimes it's a sign of fear.
That is a scary thought, but a necessary one. Go find that hallway mirror, everyone. Ask the hard questions.
And take off the armor.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.